intellect because of what they are able to offer academically in various fields of life. Because back then, our system of education was very strong and was very good. And that is why it was easy for these countries to harvest the best brains from Africa to their countries. But today, if you look at the trend, even back home, are they allowing that system of education to continue? No. If you ask me, whatever is happening in Nigeria now, if somebody makes you feel that what we are experiencing in Nigeria today is homegrown terror, it is a lie. I will tell you, it is a big lie. Oh yes. Go and check what is happening between Sudan and Abu Dhabi, whatever they call themselves. Creating Yes, I am using Hello Okolawon AA. I am most of my videos, I do them in Yoruba because I love Yoruba. I've been away from Nigeria for so many years, but my Ibadan or my Hegba, they are still conk. That is for you to know that I am not Omali. The reason why I'm saying this in English is because I want it to go more viral. So please don't distract me. Please, I beg in the name of whatever you believe in. Okay? Is the reason why I'm speaking English language. I want it to go to them. I want it to go to our brothers and sisters back home who don't speak Yoruba. Hope you understand. Now, before that distraction, they will bring the best brains from Africa to fill different vacuums because our forefathers were fast learners. I mean, how do you describe somebody like, what do they call him? Ajayi Crowther. Okay? Bishop Ajayi Crowther. That was able to understand their language so much that he could interpret the Bible into Yoruba language. Even though some of the problems he created, not intentionally though, okay, those problems are still there. But you can imagine somebody being taken from his land to another person's country and he was able to acquire such wisdom. Then you can begin to understand the stuff Africans are made of. How many of you remember the story of King Jaja of Opobo that we did in primary school and everything? Now, today, apart from the fact that these world leaders that call themselves first world country leaders, they are so myopic to the extent that they are putting their hands in our affairs. Back home, they create tension, they create all this terror, whatever, they fund it. And at the end of the day, it is only to have access to the resources. They have forgotten that if they get all these resources and there are no expertise that will convert these resources as a result of maybe after being able to go through schools. Let me say, for example, today, when they get crude oil from Africa, they still have people in schools that will teach their children about what we call fractional distillation in chemistry. Now, they can have various segments of this crude oil and everything, and they do everything. What if a time comes that the children they are not developing today, they do not have the experience of what to do with crude oil? What happens to the world we are living in? You're not answering that. Now, think about it. When they destabilized Africa so much. And our system of education has been tampered with that even we ourselves, wọ́n wò wá láwò sunkún, à ń wòra wa láwò rẹ́rìn. They look us and they weep at our misery. But we look at ourselves, we begin to laugh and smile and be happy, not knowing the calamities that are coming to finally befall us, except if an abrupt change occurs. Why am I saying so? When at this time in Africa, if we understand what the time is saying, this is the time that, I am not mincing words, this is the time we should be weeping, we should be gnashing our teeth. This is the time that no comedy skits should be entertained. Sami Moyi Baba. This is the time. Please, I would thank God you came on this line. I've been trying to reach you. I just remembered now. I will reach you after the program. Okay, Sami Baba. Now, this is the time in Africa that even if you must post things on social media, it should be things that should be sensitizing our brains and our conscience. Oh yes, you don't know. This is not the time for jokes at all. This moment we are in all over Africa, the moments are so delicate and dangerous. This is not the time you will say because it has not come to you as a lady, you decide to be messing around on social media. Because I still weep when I see that even beside you in your country, they said people are being deleted, and you have the guts to be doing some things on social media, or like our Senate President Akpabio. This is the time we will be saying they should seize Natasha's passport. When such a man should not even dress well again, he should be dressed in rags and be weeping. What about all other African countries? Now, at the end of the day, when you ask these world leaders what plans do they have to fill up the vacuums that are being created in different sectors, I don't know what their answer will be. But as far as I'm concerned, with what I have seen that they tutor our children, is it not the same leaders that they will sit down, men and women, and they are going to be signing pé ọmọ tó bá jọkùnrin tó bá sọ pé òun ò jọkùnrin mọ́, ìjọba lẹ́tọ̀ọ́ àti gbà lọ́wọ́ òbí ẹ̀ kẹ́ ẹ sọ dóbìnrin. Meaning that tí n bá bí Joseph, tí Joseph bá lọ sí school láàárọ̀, Josephine máa wá bá mi nílé lọ́sàn. Meaning that tí n bá rán Victor or Victoria lọ sí school láàárọ̀, Victoria ló máa padà wá bá mi nílé. You people are not understanding. Àwọn nǹkan tí wọ́n ń tì sí àwọn ọmọ wa lórí nìyẹn. Tí ò bá jẹ́ yẹn, á jẹ́ kinní tán ń pè ní LG kinní kan Q, LG kinní kan whatever. Débi wípé lójú ẹ̀mí wa báyìí, wọ́n ní celebration day. And we do not have parents that will stand up and weep all over a nation and say enough is enough of that. My child is my child. A government does not have rights over my child. Where are those parents? But such parents, as far as much as they will tell you that they don't have time, they are busy, you are going to be asking such parents, where do they get the time to travel so far to go and watch World Cup, to go and watch Olympics, to go and watch Miss World, to go and watch Mr. Keneka? Maybe Premier League is on now. We waste our time there. In Nigeria, they just finished conducting BB Nigeria. We do not have time to stand up, if not for us, but for our children. But we have time for all of these frivolities that as concluded by these good-for-nothing leaders to distract us. How many distractions do we even have also on social media today, when we should be using that social media for something meaningful? Nothing. So what am I saying? If it is not ọkùnrin sóbìnrin, obìnrin sọ́kùnrin, to the extent that the same people who brought these things to us, they also allow our children that ọkùnrin sọ́kùnrin máa bára wọn sùn, obìnrin sóbìnrin lè máa bára wọn sùn. And as a result of that, go and look on social media, you will see the impact, the damaging impact that these people have done to our children. Because immediately to about to change the sex in water, they abandon them to rot away. No insurance, nothing. So they keep on having a lot of psychological, mental, emotional problems. How many of you have seen such videos? We think that we have seen madness. We have not seen anything. Now, agriculturally, we have annual crops, we have biannual crops, and we also have perennial crops. Let's take for instance that, okay, let's assume. Thank you so much, Timajek. Let's take for instance that the resources in Africa are likened to be perennial crop. Okay, crop that can survive for so many years, season in, season out. Let's say mango tree, for example, Pectona grandis, which is teak, igigedu, and some other trees, iroko. What is the botanical name of iroko again? I've forgotten all these names. Right? Let's assume that our resources in Africa are like that. But irrespective of the fact that these perennial crops have qualities, they have qualities that enable them to be able to survive so many years. If they are not well kept, despite having those qualities, they will be cut off, they will die off. It's the same message I am bringing to world leaders today. If they would listen at all, that this Africa, that you are cropping their resources so much, that a time will come. Yes, let's thank God for what he has been able to do when it comes to sustainability. It is a term that you must know when you do a bit of economics and some other things. They call it sustainability. This sustainability is a very lovely concept, but it can be very confusing, because you will think that you can be having access to a particular item, okay, until when you find out that it has been depleted. Because if they love their countrymen and they love their children, there is a way they can make it a round table. That, okay, we want these resources from your country. At the end of the day, we will make sure that in getting these resources, we will treat your environment the same way we will treat our own environment. But guess what they have been doing? Look at Shell, for example. How many of you remember Ogoni Fishing Festival? How many of you remember? During the days of AIT, you remember that they will feature how they do these festivals back then. But as at today, you will remember the last speech of somebody like Ken Saro-Wiwa and the people that stood up for Ogoni people during the days of Abacha. or who was the president then? Yeah, I think it was Abacha. Ken Saro-Wiwa stood up in the court talking, says he was not afraid to give up his life, but he would plead that his own people deserve a voice, they deserve a life. And he said it with the men that were with him in that court. If you go on Facebook, you will, if you go on YouTube, he's been making expos on conservation and Sakamaji. He's from Kenya. It's another aspect of the tricks. Okay, I will do that. Please, if you can send that to me on WhatsApp, sir. +234 80 9290 6250. Please, I would love to look into that. I hope I'm still making sense. Now, Ken Saro-Wiwa stood up. If you go on YouTube, you will see that video. It is an highly emotional video that a man knew that they want to unjustly eradicate him. He stood up for truth. He stood up for his people. I can even tell you that today Ogoni people should be worshiping that man as their Jesus. There should be a day separated for worshiping that man. But what are we having there today? All our riverine areas have been damaged by exploration of crude oil. And these people allowed Shell to do that without any reparation, without any money being paid for that damage. That the people are now dying of cancer, of various diseases, because of the damage, environmental damage that they have done to us. By the help of our useless leaders, by the help of our myopic leaders, by the help of our God-forsaken leaders in Africa. The same people who did not have shoes, who didn't even know they could make it to school. It's the same set of people that are now cutting corners, helping these world leaders to go away, to get away with our resources, so that they can hide houses and money all over. See, a child that was growing up to be a man, who could not boast of 1 square meal, is the same madman in government today in Africa that is storing away millions of dollars. Finally, we will say that they call us animals. And I will tell you today, it is a slap on the faces of animals when these people call us animals. It is a big slap on the faces of animals. How many of you have seen the videos of lions? When they are fed, when they are filled up, they don't go for hunting. Kasongo will be tapping them. Another animal will stroll by them. They don't do anything. But we, as a people of color, we are far less than these animals in the wild. So when these people call us animals, they are even elevating our position. That an African politician will be having 10, 15 houses. They will be having various accounts all over the world. Buying houses for girlfriends. Houses that they will buy and they will lock it up. But yet, animals in the wild, when they are well fed, there are snakes that once they swallow one thing, for like 2-3 months, they will go and hibernate. They won't kill, they won't do anything. You will even step on them, they won't do anything. How are we better? Or how are we not worse than those animals? That is why I said that as I'm throwing it to the world leaders who think that they are smart, who think that through chaos they can continue to have access to the resources they need instead of using the right channel and repair the Africa from where they are getting the resources. It is not smartness, it is madness. It is lack of the foresight that their own forefathers had. In 2025, that will still be having these animals in human skin create chaos all over Africa, just to be having access to the resources that they need, that they could easily work on a particular pattern of exchange that would hinder our brothers from having to travel through the Mediterranean Sea, from having to travel through the desert because of greener pastures. And if you ask me, I will say that what we have been doing is leaving behind greener lives in search of greener pastures. Which one is more important? So at the end of the day, we say that there is a high level of bloodshed all over Nigeria, which so many African countries are looking up to as their savior. Unfortunately, that nation happens to become a sleeping giant. And Nigeria is not just sleeping. It is because our leaders, they lack foresight, they lack love, they lack ambition. They are so self-centered that I can't begin to even imagine it. That Abacha died in 1998. I remember being in Bauchi that year. And to date, they are still returning the money that Abacha looted and stole. What about their family members? The world leaders will think that they are doing the smart thing by creating loopholes for our leaders where we are dying of hunger to steal billions of dollars and bring it back to their countries. After they might have said that they are borrowing us, though they are lending us the money, they allow our African leaders, yet they say they are fighting corruption up and down. You world leaders, irrespective of whatever first world nation you call yourself, because I don't even know who brought up that classification, I will say it the way it is. You lack conscience and you are far worse than animals. That you will see an African child, you see the status of African kids, and yet you do not care at all. You continue to loot, to steal the resources. What else do you want from us? Yet when we come to your countries, you treat us like non-entities that probably our leaders have made us to be. But I will say this, it might be happening today, but tomorrow, an abrupt change might happen in Africa. That the current generation will say, you know what, even if I'm not going to lead a decent life, my children, I am ready to lay down my life for them. That at the end of the day, you people brought a system of education to us in such a way that we know for sure that as a lender, you are supposed to know how the person you are lending the money to will be paying back. That is why we have the banking sector doing that. They have a special department to always go out and assess any business proposal. And that is why Nigerian banks are giving away what we call, they give churches, they give pastors loans because they know people must pay. They do what they call, there is a name they call it in the banking sector, business assessment. And look at the stupid game. How do these people think that all Africans will be sleeping and face the same direction? That you will say, okay, we want to lend you $500 million. You are lending us money